Hello everyone and welcome to Crochet 101 for beginners. What you're going to learn in this video, it's going to be the type of hooks available, the parts of a hook, all the tools that you're going to need, the type of yarns available in the market. I'm going to teach you how to read a yarn label. I'm going to show you a quick color chart and why it's important. I'm going to tell you about the UK versus the US terminology, how to hold a yarn, how to hold a hook, how to do a slip knot, how to do chains, how to do a slip stitch, how to do a US single crochet or UK double crochet, how to do a fasten off, how to do a half double crochet in the US or a UK half treble crochet, how to do a US double crochet or a UK treble crochet, and last but not least, how to do a US treble crochet or UK double treble crochet. So ready? Let's get started. Let's discuss hooks. These are the type of hooks available in the market. Hook size goes from 0.6 millimeters up to 20 millimeters in size. This one here is a 0.8. I suggest as a beginner between 2.5 and 3.5. The type of ones that you have is this one, the rubber one. I found it is one of the most comfortable one for absolute beginners. But as well, the one that I use the most as well is the metal one, which again is really comfortable, is lightweight, and it gives you the strength that you need for your projects. Then you have the plastic ones and you have the wood ones. I wouldn't suggest both of them for absolute beginners just because when you put the yarn to work, it's not going to run as smoothly and as easily as it will do in the one with the rubber holder on the entire metal one. But again, it's entirely up to you. If you want to test the other ones, go and do so. Since the plastic one is really lightweight, you barely feel you have nothing in your hands. So here are all the types. Now we're going to discuss the parts of a hook. There are multiple parts in a hook, and it's important to know because in certain tutorials or in certain patterns, some people include the name of the hook. And I know everybody just keeps saying hook, 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 because it has the shape of a hook. But aren't you interested that there are more parts and individual names to each part? Okay, we're gonna start with what is called the hook tip, which is the one that you're always gonna use to insert it in your stitches. Then you have the throat, which is where your yarn is always holding. Then you have the lip, which is the one that makes sure your yarn doesn't go away. Then you have the shank, the thumb rest where you will put your finger, and the handle, which is quite normal. Why is it held that way, right? Okay, now you know the parts. Now let's get into the tools. Tools, you're gonna need some scissors. I will say small ones, easy ones. These ones are perfect for yarn. It's just really sharp and goes straight to what it should be. Then you need the tapestry needles. The plastic ones I found are the easiest ones to move through the projects in this case. So they come in multiple size and length. It depends on the project that you're doing. Then we're gonna need some stitch markers. As well, you have them really large size for big projects, but that's more of a knitting type of stitch marker. And then you have the little ones plastic, which you will have seen if you watched any of my other videos. And they are as simple as just a click and your yarn is secure. Then you're gonna need some measure tapes. These ones are the ones that I have all my life. I have them since I'm a young girl. So they are perfect to measure your projects if you have to, but you also have them in rolling. Then we have this is the ring for the yarn. A lot of people use them online. I don't feel comfortable using them, but it came on the package. Then we have this ruler, which the only thing you have to do is you're gonna put your yarn inside those holes and it's gonna tell you the type of hook you should be using for every size of yarn. Then you can have a bag. You can always purchase online a bag that comes with everything. This one I cannot share it with you because I bought this one many years ago. I'm sorry about that, but I can leave you another ones on the description box down below. And as well, just to let you know, on my website you will have available. Over on my website, you can get a package for beginners with hooks, tapestry needle, stitch markers, and measure tapes. It does not include the scissors, neither the yarn ring or the ruler, but the rest you will get it all for your projects. check the description. But something I'm thinking and reconsidering to include as well is the counting rows, which I found is quite interesting and important, rather than using a notebook and a pencil every time you are working on rows. Then let's check the type of yarns. These are all the type of yarns, or the most popular ones you will find in the market nowadays. These ones, can you use them all as a beginner? Yes, but I will tell you why I think you shouldn't. This one is the thinnest one. This one will go with like a 2.5 or a 3mm hook. It's really thin, it's really easy to use, and for small projects works the best. Then we have the most conventional one, which we'll call in between a 3 and a 3.5 hook. This one, it's the one that I will 1000% suggest for absolute beginner. Then we go with the chunky one. I know these ones are gorgeous, and especially to use it for amigurumis and everything, but if you don't know how to do stitches, you are not ready to use it. Neither the previous one or this one, Fluff, because you won't be able to see the stitches where you are at. You need to be in a more advanced level to be able to do that. But yes, they're gorgeous, and I'm going to teach you soon how to use them. Then we have what I like to call the winter yarns. These ones are really thick. It will call for like between a 6 and a 9mm hook, and they are gorgeous for the winter projects. And last but not least, I have the fabric ones. The fabric ones as well, the projects that you can do are gorgeous and amazing, but they are really big, as you can see. They're really chunky, and to make them roll in your hook is quite tricky, so absolutely do not try to use this one as a beginner because you will struggle a lot. I will go for the one that I show you first. Then let's read a yarn label. The yarn label has so much information on it that some of it is quite important. You will always have the logo, and then you have the grams, the name of the yarn, and the meters of yarn you have included in each of them. Then it's quite important you go as well to this chart over here, because it's going to tell you for a 10 by 10, which in this case is 21 rows, it will measure 16 m. So that is for you to know that with a normal tension of your hook, that's how it's supposed to be the measurement. And then as well, you have a little label where it shows you the type of hooks that you should be using for knitting and crocheting. Then it tells you the care that you should give to this yarn on the washing, the ironing, etc. But I will always suggest, if you can, just hand wash all of your crochet projects, just because otherwise they tend to shrink and you don't want to damage them as well. And there's a bunch of more information on the level that you can have a look at. Then we go for the color chart. The colors affect the appearance of a finished item dramatically, so choose with care, because the color wheel made it up all the colors in the spectrum can be a useful tool when choosing color combinations. So make samples to test that the colors work well together before buying large quantities of yarn. Then let's discuss the UK and the US terminology. Mostly all the videos you will find online, they use the US terminology, but I'm from the UK, so I can work with both of them. I left this chart in here for you. You can always screenshot it and use it for future references. And today we're going to discuss all of these stitches. Let's talk about how to hold your yarn. There are multiple ways to do it, and I have tried to do it as slow as possible in this video so you can see how different variations you can do. Put your hand flat on a table, roll the yarn around your pinky, under your ring and middle finger, and then put it over your index finger. That's one of the ways to do it, and then the yarn should easily move and roll around all of your fingers. I'm going to repeat that again. Put your hand flat on the table, take your tail and put it around your pinky, then put it under your middle and your ring finger and over your index, and then your yarn is ready to start working right now. Another way you can do it as well is, again, hand flat on the table, around your pinky, under your ring, over your middle, and over your index. That is ready to work as well. Neither of these are the methods that I use. I'm going to show you now the one that I use, and it works. You're going to open your palm, and we're going to use those 3 fingers to put the yarn inside the fingers. You're going to close them up, and we're going to be holding our project with our thumb and our index, and the yarn will be over our index. Those 3 fingers, you're going to bring them up. So you're going to kind of do a triangle shape in there, and the yarn should roll really easily between those 3 fingers. And as I say, imagine that my other index finger was the hook. So you can see I can easily still work, and my index and my thumb from my left are the one holding the project. So it's those 3 fingers that we're gonna put, pinky, middle, and ring finger. Those are the 3 where we're going to put our yarn and hold it. Imagine our index and our thumb is holding the project, and the other index from the right hand side is the one that represents the hook, and that will be the way I will be working on all the time. And as you can see, at some point I will be holding with my left hand index and index and thumb. I will be holding as well the other side of the project. How to hold your hook. There's 2 methods to do this, and once you get more advanced, you will even create your own method to do it. You have the pencil holding, which is, imagine you were writing something. So that's how you're going to place your fingers. And method number 2 will be the knife holding. Imagine you were cutting something, so the way how you put your index will be slightly different. Those are the 2 most traditional methods. I will say I like more to use the pencil holding, but probably when you see my videos, you will not see any of them. It's just my own way to do it. Let's learn how to do the slip knot now. Place your yarn on the table. Take your tail and do a circle. Open like that, like a loop in the center. You're doing a circle. Take your hook. Hold the middle of the connection of both of the yarns. Pull the tail yarn under and pull it up. And you are doing kind of like a U shape with the yarn that you have holded, and all what you will have to do is hold your tail and your other yarn, pull, and you have created the slip knot. Let me show you one more time. Place your yarn on the table, create a loop where there's an X connection between both of the yarns. Take your hook, put it under that X, take your tail yarn and pass it through that loop, creating like a U shape. After that, it's really important that we hold our tail and the rest of our yarn that goes to our ball. And once you have both of them secure, you're gonna pull with your hook and you have created the slip knot. And the only thing you have left now is hold your tail, pull, and you will close your slip knot that now rests next to your hook. There is another method that you can do it as well, which is the most traditional one that everybody does, and is with in between your index and your thumb, you're gonna hold the tail, you're gonna roll it around your index, and you're gonna create an X and put the rest of the yarn behind the first tail that you have, the first line that you have created. Then you're gonna take your hook, you're gonna pass it under the first loop. You're going to hold with your hook the back loop and pass it through. Now that you have passed it through, you have created the U shape again like before. You're again gonna hold your tail and the rest of your yarn, hold it tight, pull that shape that you have in there, and the knot will be created. Now the only thing you have left is pull a little bit your yarn and it will jump next to your hook again. This one is the most traditional one, and I'm gonna repeat it one more time. Index and thumb from your left hand, hold the tail, roll it around your index. Be really careful and remember it has to go to the back, creating an X that you will hold with your thumb. Give some space to your hook to get inside. Hold the yarn from the back and pull it through, creating a U shape. Then hold your tail and the rest of your yarn. Pull and secure the knot. Then you will pull one of your yarns again, one of your tails, and that will close our slip knot. That is the way to do a slip knot. Through your thumb, holding with your thumb across your index, pulling your front tail slightly a little bit, and you can even do it with your fingers as you can see here. Pushing forward the back loop, pulling and then holding with the other hand your tails. Again, in between index and thumb, make a cross in your index and hold it really tight with your thumb. Stand up your front loop slightly, pass the back loop to the front, hold it with your other index and thumb, and pull. And that is the way to do the slip knot in different ways. Then you will take your hook, you will pull your yarn, and you have secured the slip knot into your hook. That's different methods that you have to do it. Practice few of them, and once you're ready, you can move to how to do chains. How to do chains? Well, first of all, you will start with your slip knot. Remember how I taught you to hold your yarn? Then you can either hold it with your thumb and your middle finger or your thumb and your index finger. And what you are going to do, in this case for me the middle finger helps me with the tension of the yarn, and then my index and my thumb pull the project down to open the stitch I'm going to work. You're going to roll your hook from under to the top around your yarn, and you're going to pull through the slip knot and create your first chain. And then repeat this multiple times until you feel secure. Roll it under around your yarn, hold it with the throat of the hook, pass it through the next chain space. Every time you do this, count as one chain. Roll it around your yarn again, hold it with your throat, pass it through the loop, which is your next chain. Again, under the yarn, hold it with the throat and pass it through the loop, creating another chain. Hold it under. Can you see how the yarn is moving on its own? And I'm not really doing anything more than moving my hook. And you need to be careful where you hold with your index and your thumb the project, because at some point you won't be able to continue working if you're holding really low. So we repeat it a few more times. Round your yarn, hold it with your hook, push it through the loop, around your yarn, hold it with the hook, pull your project down to open your stitch and pass it through the loop. That's another chain. Under the yarn, through the hook, through the loop, and around the yarn and through the loop, around the yarn, through the loop. And this will be the effect of yarn over that we say multiple times in video. Yarn over and pull through the loop to create another chain. I will suggest you repeat this as many times as you need and as many times you will feel comfortable until you are sure that your chains are all straight, as this one look like, an entire line, and that you are confident to move to the next step, because this is going to be the beginning of every single project. How do the chains look? Well, the chains look like a V. Every V, you have the slip knot in there, which is a circle, and every V over that is one chain. Then how you will count them? By taking each V and counting them one by one. So a full V represents one chain. Later on, when we move to other stitches, it will completely sound different. We will say every V counts as one stitch, but in this case it counts as one chain. And the last one, that one counts as well, but that's the one that we are working on, and that is your last one. You don't count the loop as your chain. Now let's study the back of the chains, because that's quite important in certain type of projects. Do you see the little mountain behind the stitch? Let me put this tapestry needle in there so you can see. Can you see that little mountain? Okay, now how about if I show you the two sides of the chain? So you have in the back the little mountain, and in the front you have the V. Can you see the two loops that are there right now? So that is the front of your chain. That is the back of your chain. No back loops, no front loops. I'm saying the front and the back of a full chain stitch. And we have one for every stitch that we have, every chain that we have created, sorry. So every chain that we created will have a little loop behind, a little mountain, however you want to call it. And sometimes we will work on them depending on the project. So practice as much as you need these chains and how to do them. And once you know how to do them, then you're absolutely ready with me to move to the next step. And if you want to count how many chains you're doing, remember that the slip knot doesn't count, only the V's. Now let's move to the slip stitch. Here we have 15 chains worked, and I'm going to teach you how to do the slip stitch. The slip stitch is a type of stitch we will normally do at the end of a project, just to create a beautiful, neat border to our projects. But sometimes we will suggest you to do some slip stitches across certain patterns, but that's something to discuss in other videos. Okay, the first chain that is on the hook is not the one we're gonna work. You will always work from the second chain from the hook. So that first one where it's coming out and the hook is attached to, we do not work that one. We skip that one and we go to the next one. That's why we always hear second chain from the hook. Keep that in mind at the time of working your stitches, so you understand when somebody says something. So that one is our first chain, is the one in the hook, okay, the one that is with the yarn. And then the next one will be straight away that one. That's the second chain from the hook, and that is where we're gonna be working all of our stitches that I'm gonna be showing you today. Then we have the third, and then we have the fourth. And as well, something you need to keep in mind, we only take the back loop of our chain. Okay, hold your hook however you have decided, either knife or pencil. Insert it on the back loop of your chain, only on the back. Do not take the complete V chain as I was showing you before, because we have the back loops and we have the front loops. To start working, unless said otherwise, you have to do the back loop. Insert your hook, yarn over, which means roll the yarn around your hook, pull it through the loop as we practiced before with the chain. In the slip stitch, you will pass it through the other loop as well. So you are passing it through the loop that you are working, plus through the loop that you have inserted. So you insert on the next chain. You have two loops on your hook right now. You're gonna yarn over, that is, roll the yarn around your hook, pull through that first chain, hold it really tight to open your stitch with your thumb and your index. In there, insert it, pass it through, and then pass that same loop through the last part of the stitch. And that is another slip stitch in there. As you keep advancing on the project, you will continue moving your project across your index and your thumb to give you the way in the project so you can see what you're working on. To go to the next stitch, we're gonna do exactly the same. Insert our hook in that next chain, we're going to yarn over, roll the yarn around the hook, pass it through, and then pass it through both. So it's a stitch you take, but you pass it through the stitch where you came from. That's a way to close in stitches as well. Okay, so that you have it close by, insert it in your next chain, hold the yarn around your hook, and you will pass it through the 2 loops that you can see they are on top of your hook right now. So you pass it through 1 and you pass it through 2. That's how a slip stitch works. Once you get more used to on how to do this, it will be a lot easier for you to do it just both at the same time. But right now, to start, I will suggest you do it slowly. You do one at a time and practice as many times as you need to make sure you perfectly know and feel comfortable doing slip stitches in any project. So again, remember is inserting our hook on the next chain, yarning over and pass it through both of the loops. Insert it on the next chain. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pass it through the first one and through the next one. So you are passing it through both of the loops that were on your hook. Insert it on the next chain, yarn over and pass it through both of the loops on your hook. Repeat this as many times as you need to feel comfortable on how to do slip stitches. Once you know how to do them, you have practiced them enough, then is when I will suggest you move to the next stitch. But first, before you go any further, let me show you just how to do it a few more times, how should it look once you finished, and what to do next. Once you reach the end, that's our last stitch next to the slip knot. It's always important to do it, but never work on the slip knot. There's always a stitch at the end, which in this case was a chain. Once we finished, this is how the slip knot is meant to look like. As I say, it's an extra row that we do multiple times in different projects to close down a project and keep it really nice and neat. As you can see, it's a stitch that will not leave any shape or form. It's just a straight line of stitches, creating what I like to call a border. It's really easy to do. The only thing you have to do is practice as much as you need to. Let's move to the next stitch now, single crochet US or double crochet UK. We have 15 chains done again. So these will be the chains we're going to be working on at the moment. Remember that we worked not on the chain that is attached to the hook, but on the first one from the chain, which it will be considered the second chain from the hook. That's how it's always called. What are we going to do for this stitch? We're going to repeat something really similar to the slip stitch, which is insert our hook on the chain. You're going to yarn over, pass it through the loop. You have 2 loops on your hook, and what you will do right now is you're going to yarn over again. So you have 3 loops on your hook while you pull it through both of them. So same like we were pulling through 2 before, now we are yarning over extra to create it. And when you see your stitch, you will see you have 2 loops attached to the yarn that is our working yarn. You're gonna insert your hook on the next space. You're gonna have 2 loops on your hook, 2 stitches if you want to call them like that on your hook. You're gonna yarn over, you're adding a 3rd one, and you're gonna pass this yarn over both of the stitches that you have. Do the first one first and then do the second until you feel comfortable enough to pull it through both of them at the same time. Insert it on the next chain, yarn over and pull through the chain space. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of the loops that are on your hook. It's easier to do the first one first and then pass it through the second one to secure you're doing it properly. Insert again your hook in your next chain, yarn over, pass through the loop, and you will have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of them. You have to be patient and you have to understand that it's not going to be that easy to do from the very beginning. That's why I'm here to teach you slowly how to do them. And you have to be really careful with the tension that you are using. As you can see, every time I'm taking the yarn, I'm pulling slightly the project, and with my index and my thumb, I make sure I'm holding the back of the project and the front of what I'm doing to get it out of my way. Then every time, as you can see, once I yarn over and pass it through, I pull my stitches down with my thumb and my index from my left hand, giving myself a space to yarn over and have the enough space for the loops in the hook to pass through. So everything is a game with your fingers. How you play with your project around to make sure you are doing the enough tension or the perfect tension for one, make it easy for you to work. So you can see, for me, I drop right now my hook. That sometimes happens when you're applying a lot of tension, and since I was showing you here what was happening, that's why it happened that way. You're gonna insert it through, pull slightly up of your yarn and your project down with your index and thumb, and then yarn over and pass it through both of them. Go to the next stitch and then again repeat the same. Insert your hook, yarn over, pass it through the chain space, and then you're going to yarn over again and pass it through both of them. We're gonna repeat this again. Insert it on the next chain, yarn over, pass it through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pass it through both of them. I'm gonna let you practice a few more times before I teach you what to do next. Now comes the last one, which is next to the slip knot. Be really careful, do not work the slip knot but the last chain. And then again, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, you have 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through both of the loops on your hook. Pull a little bit this slip knot to secure, and now you could either stop here with your practice, but I want you to practice something else. So far, this is how doing slip stitches look like, and you should count how many stitches you have. So you're gonna pull your tail and your yarn that you're working on aside, and we are gonna count the V's. Remember, every V is 1 stitch, and right now, since I started with 15 chains, you should have 14 worked stitches. This is absolutely normal that you will always lose 1 chain from the beginning of chain spaces to the first row of stitches, and that's how many stitches you will be working afterwards in the next projects that you do. On the first row, it's really difficult to get lost because as long as you start from the second chain from the hook, you will get all the stitches that you want. But when you move to the next rows, you need to make sure that you are always working on the first and the last stitch because you don't want to miss that one. As well, another way you can check your stitches, this is how a single crochet looks like, okay? This is in between 2 stitches, those are the holes, and all the yarns in between, that is 1 stitch. But I think we're going to do another round together, so like that you will understand how to do more rounds and how do they look like. Sometimes on the first one you can barely see it. So what you're going to do, you're going to chain 1, and that chain creates the hive that you need for the next round to continue with single crochets. So I'm going to repeat again. You are there on the last stitch that you've done. Okay, you can see the stitch in there, 2 loops in there, and then that's your reference to know if you have done the chain or not. Okay, then you're gonna chain 1, same like we have practiced before, and then those 2 chains have disappeared, and now can you see in there how there are 2 loops in there from the previous stitch, and now you have 1 loop in there. That is your chain. That's what represents your chain. Okay, once you've done that, you're gonna turn your project around so you are in what now is the new beginning of the project. Now what you can see is that now will be your first stitch, second, third. Okay, the first one is the first one that is available. Do not go to the second one like you've done with the chains, okay? Because now we're in a new row and it's completely different how we do things in here. Keep that in mind because I know a lot of you tend to skip that first stitch thinking you don't have to work it, and that's why you're always missing some stitch afterwards. So you're gonna go in that first stitch down the chain that we just done, and then remember, now we need to see the full V on top of our hook. It's not like before with the chains that we only took 1 loop. You're gonna yarn over, pass it through. Can you see there how you're seeing the stitch? You're gonna yarn over and pull through 2. And that's how we do the single crochets right now. So you are inserting in underneath the 2 V's, which is in between 2 stitches. You're gonna yarn in over, there we go, pull it. You have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and you will pull through the first and the second, and that's another single crochet. And then you're gonna go to the next one, again making sure you're taking both of the loops of your stitch with is the V, the complete V, and then you're going to again yarn over, pass it through that stitch. You have 2 loops on the hook. You're gonna yarn over again, and you're gonna pass it through both of the loops to create another single crochet. In the US, by the way, I'm just keeping the US terminology right now. You're gonna go to the next one, and again making sure you have the V over in your hook, yarn over, you got 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and you pull through both of them, or one at a time, whatever is more convenient for you right now that you are practicing. Okay, don't over stress yourself if you think that you have to do one at a time. It's absolutely okay. You will get better the more you practice, because practice makes perfection. I know a lot of people will sometimes say perfection doesn't exist, but for me, once you practice something multiple times is when you get to be perfectionist at that in your own way, and then from there you learn your own way around. So we are gonna continue going down all the row by doing single crochets, which remember is inserting your hook underneath the V, yarn over and pass it through 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pass it through both of them, and then you're gonna go to the next one, and here you have 15 chains. Now we have 14 work stitches, which means you're gonna work 14 stitches. And I think for the first few times that you practice, you should do that between 15 to 20 chains, because that way it gives you the opportunity of practice over and over and over again, rather than just do like 3-4 chains and then try to practice. You are just not gonna see the same results on yourself that if you challenge yourself a little bit more and you go for, like, as I said, around 15 to 20 chains. That will be a good number to start with, and then make sure that you can practice more and more and more around. And then you have to be really careful, especially on the first round is difficult because you're working on the chains. On the second round, which we are right now, this is second row, it's quite hard because the first stitch, you can put a stitch marker as soon as you do it, so you know which one it is. Otherwise, it tends to kind of disappear. You can't see it, but if you skip it, it will be really visible, if that makes any sense. So there is my last stitch, kind of turning around, there in a round bit, but I can see my V. It's in there, so I should get it. There we go. Make sure you take both. Exactly. Make sure you take the full V with you. And that's when you can do your last stitch over in there. Then you're gonna yarn over, pull through the loop, yarn over, and pass it through both of them. And congratulations, you just finished your second row of single crochets. And here you have how do they look like. The more rows you do, the better you're gonna see how does it look like, and it's gonna be easier for you to see what you're doing, and as well to see how do the stitches look like. First of all, I will suggest you count again your stitches on the top, your V's. You make sure you have 14, because that is the 14 stitches that you have done, but you can also count it in there, each of them. And how to count it, you can count the double stitches that you have in there, the double loops. Those double loops will represent one stitch, but I'm going to show you in a little while more. Now I'm going to show you how to fasten off. To fasten off, you're going to take your project, you're going to chain one. You could turn around and continue doing more rows, but right now let me only show you how to fasten off, which I will suggest again that you do at least 5 to 10 rows of single crochets before you stop. Then you're just gonna take your scissors after you did one chain, and then you're gonna cut it in there, and you're gonna pull that loop up, and you're gonna pull, and that is your fasten off stitch. That's how to do it. Now you have 2 tails, one on each side, and comes the time to hide it with our tapestry needle. For the one in the top, because we just work stitches, it's quite easy to do it. What I like to do is go back inside the last stitch that I worked, and once I've done that, I like to go slowly, by the way. I don't like to try to take a big chunk and go up and down with the tapestry needle. I like to take it easy and go slowly in between some stitches first. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna insert it in the loops of your stitch over and over again. You can do these maybe 2, maybe 3 stitches at one time. It all depends. And as you can see, I'm going through the curvature of the top loops of my row that we just worked. I'm not touching where are the last stitches that we have worked, because if you're to do it in there, it's gonna be visible and you can damage the look of how your project is look like. Okay, insert it through there, pull your tapestry needle through, and you just hide it. If you still have a long tail and you want to completely hide it off, then go again, insert it into different stitches and hide it away. Otherwise, after a few stitches, I will say you can easily just go and cut it off. It's absolutely fine because you did a knot, which means you have more than enough space in there to secure that it's all tidying off. Okay, you don't really, that's why we don't leave really long tails, neither we have to go across the entire project back and forth. That's something that you should keep in mind as well, to make sure that one, you don't waste, and two, you don't overdo something that is not really necessary. So then once you are done with one side, comes the time to do the other one. And this one can be slightly trickier because this one you don't have the same sort of stitches next to it, because remember this one, it was our slip knot tail. But what I like to do is I like to hide that hole that has happened. So I go straight away up into the stitch above. That way I use that one to pull my yarn over in there, and I'm kind of sewing the space and hiding away that hole that the slip knot normally creates. So as you can see, it's not like you need to take extra yarn and do something. It's already done in there, but it is enough to make sure you close out that space, so barely nobody will be able to say where is the beginning or the end of that project, if that makes any sense. Okay, so just go around and go across, insert it in between stitches. The better you hidden, the better result. And as well, sometimes if you're not used to at all on sewing, I'll say put your tapestry needle through, check the other side, make sure you can't see your tapestry needle, and then you sew it, because that way you make sure you're only going in the middle, you're exactly going in the center of that space of stitches. Otherwise, you're going through either the front or the back of the project, which means you will sometimes be able to see where that tail is going, and nobody wants to see that. Same like before, especially this one is the slip knot. You don't really have to hide the whole tail. So what I do is I pull slightly my tail, so I'm bringing it to me, then I cut it, then I pull the project back, like if I'm trying to take the slip knot out of place again, and there you go, your tail has hidden away right now, rather than exactly close where that little fluffy bit at the end was. I pull it, so I make sure when I pull back it goes into place. And here you have how is this super easy US single crochet or UK double crochet stitches. Let's go for the US half double crochet or the UK half double treble crochet. Now we have done again our 15 chains per usual. We're doing exactly the same than before, the same amount of stitches, because as I said, between 15 to 20 is the easiest to do. And we are working same like we've done previously. We're only gonna work on what it will be called the back loop of the chain space, and we are again gonna start working on the second one from the hook. But now you're gonna yarn over first, so you're gonna turn your hook under the yarn and you're gonna hold it with you. You're gonna go to the second one from the hook, use your middle finger from the other hand to hold that yarn and make sure it stays in place, because the first one is quite tricky for everyone. Okay, you don't have much space to turn it. You're gonna insert it inside that chain. Now you kind of have 3 loops on your hook. You pull your yarn and now you officially have 3 loops on your hook. How to finish this stitch is by yarning over and pull it through 3 of them. Do one at a time at the very beginning to practice. So you go one by one, now you go 2, that you go 3 of them. 1, 2, 3 are your loops that are there on your stitch that you just worked. Now we're gonna yarn over again, hold it with your middle finger. You're gonna go to the next chain space, take only the top loop of the chain, yarn over, pull through. You have 3 on your hook, yarn over and pull through 3 of them. Perfect. You just done another stitch. Now yarn over again, go to the next space, insert your hook. You have, as you can see, nearly 3 stitches in there, 3 loops. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. You are passing the yarn through 3 of the loops, and that's the best way to secure that you are not skipping any of them. So go on and do it again. Yarn over, have 3 loops. Now yarn over, pull through 3. Next one, yarn over before you start, yarn over again, insert it in the next one. And as you can see, with my left hand, I'm helping myself to hold my project and my chain line to keep it out of my way. Crochet is all a game of fingers. First of all, you have to have really relaxing hands and really relaxing tension when you are doing any stitch, any project. Because the moment you start tensing your hands, your yarn is not gonna run through, your stitches are gonna be looking weird because one will be tighter than another. You're gonna start getting frustrated and don't know what you're doing. So take a deep breath before you start working on all of this. Calm yourself down and know that you can do it. You just have to practice. You just have to try over and over again until you have done enough times to feel confident to do it. I know it's easy for me to say it. I just want you to keep in mind, I say it multiple times on my social media and on my videos. I have done this since I was a little girl. So I understand that for me it's easy to say now as a woman that I know how to do this and I know I make it sound so easy. But you cannot imagine the amount of times I practiced this when I was a little girl. There was way too many times. And right now I'm teaching people online and physically, even children. So if you are a child, congratulations for reaching this video. I'm really proud of you and you should be proud of yourself of just trying. If you're an adult, same thing. First of all, the courage of clicking on this video and trying, that already should mean the world to you. No matter how many times you need to repeat it, no matter how many times you need to watch it and try and fail until you feel more confident, until your pressure is more relaxed, etc., etc. So don't frustrate yourself, because I know many of you have come to my videos from not knowing anything and then felt lost and be like, I can't do that. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You just have to watch the correct tutorial first, which will be something like what you're doing right now. And then is when you can come and try something else. But remember, we are reaching again our slip knot last chain next to the slip knot. We still work it same like the others, but do not try to force yourself inside the slip knot. There's no stitch in there to work. As you can see here, this looks a little bit more different. These stitches, they are slightly longer. And then again, we're gonna do the same than before and count that we have 14. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and hiding down 14. So yes, correct, we have done all of our stitches. Now we could fasten off, but obviously we're not gonna do that. We're gonna continue, and in this stitch it's a lot easier to recognize the stitch if I'm to pull the yarn like that and see in between, and you can also count those. So every little post like that represents one stitch. You can always come and count them as well rather than count the chains on top, but I think for you beginners it's a lot easier if you just count the top of the stitch and you can see perfectly how it is. Now, can you see the 3 loops in there? That means we just done one stitch, right? Now it comes the time to grow our project. So to do that and do another row, you're gonna chain 1. Remember that was turning the yarn around your hook and pass it through. You're gonna do that twice. Why? Because you need the height. Now you can see the 3 loops in there hiding, and then 1 and then 2. So yes, you have done your 2 chains. That's how you know that you have done your chains, okay? So you're gonna go back to your project, turn around, and you're gonna work all the 14 stitches same than before. Look at it here right now. Yes, we're gonna take like before the entire V, but now you need to be careful because there's another space down there, and there is the space of the stitch and the space of the chains. Let's call them chains, so maybe it will make more sense to you. So we're gonna call chains the V's, so you can see it, and down below it's the stitch what you have created. Don't get inside there, okay? So you're gonna yarn over, go to your first stitch in there, insert it over the V's, make sure you take the V's, yarn over, you have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 3 of them. Those chains that we have done at the very beginning, they don't count as anything more than create the hive that we need to continue, otherwise it will make a weird round our project, okay? Just to let you know. So what you have to do, again, you pull a little bit. Remember that your index and your thumb will pull the project down to open your stitch, and the rest of your fingers are only holding the yarn. You are not pulling anything from there. You're keeping that hand nice and relaxed so the yarn can run through. Maybe through the image you think I'm tensing my fingers or I'm keeping any pressure in there, but I can assure you I do not have any pressure applied in there. So you're gonna continue by yarning over, entering the next space stitch, which is over in there, yarning over, passing through. I have 3 loops, and then I'm gonna yarn over and pass it through 3 of them again. There we go. So that's another stitch worked. Remember, we are doing the US half double crochet or the UK stitch, which in this case, this one in the UK, it's called the half treble crochet. I know it's quite confusing, but if you're on the UK, you call it one way, and I want to respect that. And I know many of my videos, I always call it the half double crochet, and if you have watched any of them, you know. But keep in mind that on the UK it's like that. And the reason why I think you should know both of the terminologies is because sometimes you're gonna read patterns and be like, I don't know how to do a half treble crochet. Yes, you do. It's the half double. You just don't know. That's why you're here for learning, and we're doing from beginning to end the full step by step with all the terminologies and all the materials and everything, so you will never ever feel lost again when you are doing any sort of project. Keep going, keep yarning over, insert it on the next stitch, and do another single crochet over and over again, so you make sure you're working all the stitches that you need right now. So you have 3 left. Remember the last one, you cannot see it, but it's in there. You have the 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 3. then 2 more left, yarn over, insert it into the next one. As you can see as well, the first one you can barely see the stitch, but as you move along down the row, you can see every stitch more and more. So when you really pull with your index and your thumb, you can really see the whole stitch where you are meant to put your hook inside. Okay, there we go, yarn over, pull through. Look at that, look who is hiding in there, it's in there. Well, you can also see it because there's something missing at the end. Can you not see that shape that is missing something in there? But that means that is our last stitch in there. Make sure you have the entire V, 3 of loops, yarn over, pull through 3 of them, and now is when you have completed 2 rows of half double crochet or half treble crochet on the UK. If you want to continue, chain 2 and do more. Otherwise, chain 1 if fast enough, like we explained before, and you will be finished. Now let's observe how the stitches look like. So you're gonna count again, make sure you have 14, or now is when you can easily pull out and you can properly see the stitch in there. Can you see the full stitch in there? It's a lot bigger than the one before, and as well is quite visible. How does it look like? Now to count rows, can you see those 3 loops in there? But can you see those loops down there? Those are the rows. That's the separation between one row and another. So every time you see those 2 loops, that means it's 1 row in there. Then you go and in the next row search for the same, those 2 loops, and that will represent another row. But this is the end of this stitch. I hope it was easy for you. Practice a lot, and let's check the US double crochet or the UK treble crochet. We have done 15 chains again. We're doing exactly the same type of chains all the time, so it's kind of easy for you to follow along. And by now you should be a pro on chains and slip knots because you have practiced already many times. Well done for you. And what are we gonna do now is we are again gonna start from the second chain from the hook. Remember we said we never work on the first one. We're gonna yarn over, we're gonna go to that first stitch over in there. Remember that yarn over was turning the yarn around our hook, inserting it onto our first chain space, and remember we're only taking the back of the chain, and then we're gonna pull through. We have 3 loops in our hook like we did learn with the previous stitch. The only difference is that right now you're gonna yarn over, you're gonna pass it through 2. You have 2 loops still on your hook, you're gonna yarn over and pull through other 2. So you're doing 2 times yarn over and pass it through. So you're yarning over again, go to the next stitch that you have available, and in there you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through 1 and 2 first, yarning over again and pass it again through the last 2 loops. So you do 2 times yarn over, pass through 2 in total. Yarn over again, go to the next stitch, insert it, make sure that you're only taking the back of the chain, not the full chain yet. We take the full chain when we are in the next stitches. We take the full V when we are in there. Then yarn over, pass through 2, yarn over, pass through 2 again. Be careful, don't lose anything. Make sure you are holding your yarn properly so you don't get the wrong side of the yarn, because sometimes that can mean that you get your hook trapped in between the threads that make the yarn, basically. So yarn over and then insert, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and that completes another stitch again. You just have to keep practicing, keep going through. Look, yarn over, insert it on the next one, yarn over and pass it through, 3 loops in the hook, yarn over, pass your hook through 2 of the stitches. As I said, it might be easier sometimes to pass it through one at a time, and then yarn over and pull again through the last 2 loops. Yarn over again, go to the next one, and keep going until you reach the end. I'm gonna let you right now do it yourself. Just keep watching how I'm doing, and I'm gonna explain you what to do next after you reach your last chain. Once you reach the last chain next to the slip knot, you have to work that one the same way. Just be careful. You should see a normal chain. Do not try to do anything inside the slip knot at all. I know many people has tried to force themselves inside the slip knot to do something else, and you don't have to. And here it is. How is it look? This type of a stitch, okay, which again is the US double crochet or the UK treble crochet. They are kind of like columns, as you can see, and you have to count again all your stitches, same like I explained previously. Every V that you count counts as 1 stitch, and you should have 14 by this time because we start with 15. And remember again that you always lose 1 stitch by the first stitch that you do. That's why, because we don't work on the first one, that first one gets lost. Now, can you see the 2 loops in there from the last one? Well, comes the time to chain to increase the height of the next row. So you're gonna yarn over, pull through that first loop. There we go. Yarn over again, and one more time, 3 times when it's this stitch. Okay, 3 times. Then what do? You have 1, 2, and 3. We count them, and down below you shall have your 2 loops from the stitch you've done in the last stitch you've done in the previous row, basically. Now that's your first stitch. Down below the last 3 chains, you're gonna yarn over, insert your hook into that chain space in there, that stitch, the double V is in there. You're going to insert it. You have 3 loops on your hook. You're gonna yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. We're gonna do it again. The first few chains doesn't count as nothing at all, so you absolutely do not take that in consideration. And then remember how to do it over and over again, because practice makes perfection. In your world, you will do it perfect if you keep practicing. So yarn over, insert it into the next space, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now there's something you have to consider here. Okay, that's the space of the stitch. There is a loop in between. That's the yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, where it does. Okay, that's where you work, and on the bottom you have another hole, but there is a loop in between. As long as you don't take that loop with you, you are inserting the hook in the correct place. If you see a excessively big hole in there, means you have accidentally took the wrong way. Okay, can you see what happened if I take that loop as well? Like, that's where I need to go, but can you see that loop down there? You don't take that loop. That is another type of stitch you will learn in another minute with me, not today. Today is just you going inside those small holes at the top by yarning over, inserting your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You're gonna keep going all the way down until you finish, and I'm gonna leave you here. Continue practicing your stitches. I'm going as slow as I can, so I make sure you can see what are the step by step. And as usual, I suggest that you do at least between 5 to 10 rows of every stitch to practice as much as you can, and you start with around 15 to 20 chains. That's gonna help you as well to practice as much as you can. And I let you do the last few stitches on your own, and I will see you once you absolutely finished with this row. Now that you have reached the last stitch, don't forget it's in there and that you have to work it. It's sometimes slightly harder, so don't give up. It's in there. Just yarn over, insert it, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and you are done with me with this row. That doesn't mean you don't practice anymore, okay? But I want to show you right now. Let's analyze how is it look these stitches. So as you can see, is the columns that I was saying before. They are slightly bigger than the previous row, so it's kind of more visible of the stitches, and if you open them up, it's quite easy to count. These ones are quite easy to count them because you can see better. But can you see again the 2 loops on the bottom? That's row 1. 2 loops again in there, that represents row 2. And if you were to so on move along, then you will see those over and over again, and you will be able to continue counting. Chain 1 if you want to fasten off, like I will do right now because I finished my example, or chain 3 and continue going around and around in rows. Now let's practice the US treble crochet or the UK double treble crochet. We are starting with 15 chains per usual, like I have been doing all over this video. By the way, you are in the last stitch that you're gonna learn with me today. And how are we gonna do this stitch is by turning the hook, or the yarn around the hook twice, 2 times this time, okay, before you insert it in your chain space or in your stitches. You remember, we skip the first one, we go to the second one from the hook, we insert our hook in there. Now you have like 4 loops in there. You're gonna pull your yarn. Now you definitely have 4 loops in your hook. And how are we gonna do this stitch? Is really simple. You have the 4 loops in there, as you can see. You're gonna yarn over and you're gonna pass it through 2. Do 1 at a time this time. Is so many loops you're not used to. Help yourself with your fingers, pushing the loops up and down. Make sure you have 3 right now. So 2 are done, 3 on the hook. You yarn over, you pull through 2 again. So first one and then another, you have pulled through 2 again. Then you're gonna yarn over once more and then pull through the last 2. That is your stitch done. Again, turn the yarn twice around your hook, go to the second one, insert it, pull it through the loop because you have 3 loops already. You need your 4th. There is your 4th in your hook. Now we yarn over and we pull through 2. Then we're going to yarn over once more and pull through 2, and then we're gonna yarn over again and pull through 2 once more. We're gonna do it again. Yarn over twice through your hook, hold it with your index and finger your project, insert your hook, yarn over, pull. You have 4, yarn over, pull through 2. There's 3 loops left. Yarn over, pull through 1 and 2. You have 2 loops left, and yarn over and pull through 2. Then now we yarn over again. Remember, here I'm making a mistake, twice, and then go to the next stitch and you have 4 loops. Yarn over, pull through 1 and 2. Yarn over, pull through 1 and 2, and yarn over and pull through 1 and 2. In all my honesty, from the basic stitches, this one is my least favorite of them. I love doing single crochets, half double crochets, double crochet. I can do them without even looking at and everything. But the treble crochets or the double treble crochets, however you want to call them, they are quite tricky for me sometimes. I need to really be paying attention what I'm doing. You just see right now, I nearly just went through it with just 1 loop. So you need to make sure you are rolling it around twice and then getting inside that stitch. This is all about practicing over and over and over again, and you're gonna fail, you're gonna get frustrated, you're going to wanna quit, But just the fact that you found this video, just the fact that you clicked on this video, and most importantly, you made it this far, you should not put on your mindset the fact that you can't do it, I'm gonna quit. What you can do is, if trebles are horrible for you right now, and you say, listen, I'm trying this stitch that you're showing right now, I just cannot do it. Well, choose projects that have not the use of treble crochets. Just don't use those type of patterns. Use patterns that only use from the single crochet up to the double crochet, or that maybe they only have like one treble and you're like, okay, I'm gonna watch the video, I know how to do the treble, maybe when I'm doing a lot of stitches at the same time will be easier for me. That sometimes also happen, but I want you to enjoy this process, and I want to thank you for reaching until this point of the video. I really appreciate it, and if you did, you just won an incredible opportunity that I have, because whoever have reached the video until here are gonna have a massive discount on something coming up, to the point that it's gonna be free for you. And the tricky thing is, the only thing you have to do for me to know you reached the end of the video is put me in the comments your favorite color. Just put in the comment the name of a color, and I will know you have reached this point of the video. And then I'm going to give you the next instructions to get something so incredible, absolutely for free, just from me saying thank you so much for watching the entire video and being here with me today. That you deserve something. And not only this practice and this tutorial, you deserve something more, and you're gonna have it. We have reached the end of the first row, and like usual, please do not forget your last stitch, and please do not try to do any stitches inside the slip knots. Well, these type of stitches, they're so tall, such a high pillar, that you can count them so easily. That's the only thing that I like about these stitches, that I don't even have to think about it. Just reconsider one thing for the next row. Look how big the gap in between stitches it is. There is a loop, and there is the gap of the stitch on top. Okay, that's your pillar over there, that's your stitch over there, but it's not the space for your next round when you do the next stitch. Okay, so now to continue, what we're going to do is, we can see our loops, the last two loops, and you're gonna chain 4. So yarn over 1, then we're gonna yarn over 2, yarn over 3, and yarn over in 4. That's how high you need it to be. Now again, we're gonna count that we have all the chains. So we have 1 in there, 2, 3, and 4. And if we turn, we can see the 2 loops from the previous stitch over in there. Okay, I'm grabbing it with my tapestry needle right now, so you can see both of the loops from the previous stitch. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn our project around, and exactly the first stitch under the chains, we are gonna wrap our yarn twice around our hook, and then we're gonna insert it, pull over, and then it's yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So remember, it's 3 times that you have to do the yarn over around. So like that is why the US call it treble crochet. Okay, just to let you know, that is the exact reason why they call it treble, because you will put your stitch 3 times, your loop 3 times through this stitch. and then the only thing you have left to do is to stay with me, finish this row, don't give up. I know you reached the end and you're like, okay, now I got it, let me go to the next level. I wouldn't suggest you. I will suggest that you actually continue doing more and more of the practices, because in the next level, which is going to be available really soon in the next couple of days, I can only tell you that the level is rising up a lot more. I'm going to be working a lot faster. I'm going to be talking about the stitches without going much into detail because I already explained them here to you. So do make sure you know how to hold your yarn, how to hold your hook, how to do the basic stitches, and then when you are absolutely ready and sure that you can do this next level, then you do it with me, okay? Because I don't want you to feel like you want to learn it all at once, because if you don't practice, you're not going to actually learn anything. The only thing will be that you're going to get more lost and probably frustrated and be like, oh, this is not for me, I'm done, I quit. And you shouldn't. So I'm going to leave you now here until the end of the row practicing on your own, and I see you in a moment. There is your last stitch over in there. Do not forget it, that is in there. I know it's curvy, I know it's not so visible, but it is in there and you have to work it up. So do the last one. Look what it is. See how I haven't done it yet. Can you see how I haven't done it? And here I'm counting and I'm gonna realize I have done 13 and I have one missing. Why? Because it's hiding in there. Yes, it is hiding in there. That's why I said please pay attention. It's kind of obvious for me because I can see there's something missing in there that is not finished. For someone maybe like you that have no idea about crochet, you will think that's the shape that it should have, but no, it should be a straight line every time you finish a project. Now here is how the treble looks like. You can see since they are really big, it's so easy to count them, it's so easy to identify them, and I hope it was kind of like Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and watch the next one.